So the Senate last night chose Ukraine over our own border security here in the U.S. And so now I want to know what the House is going to do about all that. Here to tell us, we welcome Florida Congressman Corey Mills, and we welcome Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Let me just play a quick clip from Speaker Johnson. Here it comes. Take a listen, please.
National security begins with border security. We have said that all along. There's a deliberative process, and we're engaged in that, and we'll see how it goes. But as I've said many times, national security begins with our own border.
All right, national security begins at the border. But I got to say, Scott Perry, I'll start with you. That's a bit of a non-denial denial. It doesn't really say whether there'll be a vote on the floor or not. And I think that Americans are still furious. And I wanted to just add, northern border security is now coming into play. 484 came over on the terrorist watch list. They were apprehended. And, of course, the southern border has been an absolute, utter daily catastrophe. And Joe Biden didn't mention a single word about U.S. border security in his little speech today. Scott Perry, what do you make of it?
Well, look, in the Senate, they're slow learners. And, of course, I'm not really sure what to say about President Biden. I'll let you make your assessment on him on your own regarding his abilities to understand. But the House has said over and over again that we're not going to be interested in funding securing other countries' borders thousands upon thousands of miles away while ours are wide open. We just heard your economic report, which includes the things that our citizens are enduring because of all these people coming across the border illegally. That has to be what is solved first. Once we solve that, then we can talk about a whole lot of other things. But that has to be front and center. The Senate's going to get it one way or the other. And if it means that they just got to continue to pass bills that never come to light in the House, then so be it. Fine by me.
Corey, you know, putting in another $100 billion. I mean, maybe I'll sound like Rand Paul, but I'm happy to sound like Rand Paul. Others have said the same thing. We had Marco Rubio on last night saying it. Putting in $100 billion, we're going to be on our road to $50 trillion of debt. And, Corey, for what? Here's what I don't understand. Mr. Biden doesn't lay out our aims and goals in the Ukraine. He doesn't lay out any sort of diplomatic exit ramp or negotiations, and he seems not to care one whit about the 6, 7, 8 million illegals crossing the border, and there's going to be a lot more this year. In other words, I don't know what the strategy is for either the war in Ukraine or the border. All I know is we're throwing money at it. And, Corey, the inflation rate is starting to rise again the last few months.
Well, you're exactly right, Larry. Look, the bottom line is that we're $34 trillion in debt. That's the equivalent just next year in our interest service payments alone at being over $900 billion, which is the equivalent of our entire national defense annual budget. And if President Biden truly wanted to secure our borders like he continues to try and tell the American people, he could do it right now under executive authority with 212 Section F. He could snap his finger with unilateral authority. Meanwhile, you got the Senate and their arrogancy trying to pontificate whether or not we should be prioritizing our borders or another border. The reality is that we have to stop funding these endless wars. We have to stop prioritizing the people that we weren't elected by and start thinking about the people that are coming across our border illegally. 8.5 million across our border, 1.8 million in gotaways. That's not including, like you just pointed out, all those on a known terrorist watch list who's crossed our borders. This is a national security, a humanitarian, and a health crisis. We, as elected officials, are elected by the American people. I'm elected by Florida's 7th District. I will serve the American people, not Zelensky and his people.
You know, Scott, it just occurs to me, look, you guys are the leaders, but here's the thing. Biden is trying to make this about saving Ukraine. And I think we have to save the United States. And it isn't political. I just think that if you look at the numbers, 80% of Americans want to do something about our border. And Biden is ignoring that. And I just think if you turn the conversation back to our border, the Ukraine thing will make less and less sense unless we go back to a border bill, Scott Perry. You follow me? We need a border. The U.S. public, I don't know what the Ukrainians want. I'm not smart enough to know. I'd like to see negotiations with Putin, to tell you the truth, all right? I don't like Putin, but I think there should be negotiation. But I'm just saying, American folks want to solve the border for any number of reasons.
Well, maybe the president is detached from reality, but Representative Mills and myself are not. Our bosses, our constituents, the citizens of America, whether you're in Florida or whether you're in Pennsylvania, are demanding that we fix the border. And of course, like you said, the president is not mentioning it at all. Meanwhile, we're supposed to ship our hard-earned tax dollars, people that get up in the dark of night, pack their lunch, put their kids on, well, their kids go on to get on the bus before, after these folks have gone to work. They're working hard to pay these bills, these inflationary bills, trying to put food on the table that they can no longer afford. And this president wants to send their tax money over to Ukraine without any plan. We don't know what the mission is. We don't know what success looks like. And oh, by the way, where is Europe? Why aren't they fixing the problem in their neighborhood? Why is it America's issue to fix not only our problem, but their problem as well?
All the big countries, we did this last night, all the big, not the UK, but France, Germany, Italy, and Canada. G7 countries have not paid their 2% of GDP fair share for NATO. So that's a great point, Scott Perry. We had Tuberville on last night. We had others on last night. I don't like Putin. I don't like Putin. Don't get me wrong. But why is there no effort at a diplomatic channel, a negotiation? It would help the Ukrainian people and might help the Russian people. And then here we have to do something. Corey, I'm going to give you the last word. I'm just saying, I think our foreign policy is just completely topsy-turvy out the window. And I know that our domestic border policy is topsy-turvy also.
Well, look, the bottom line is that President Biden and the Democrats haven't recognized that our foreign and domestic policies are intrinsically linked. As you talked about, the three biggest players, Germany and Italy and France, don't pay 10% or 2% of their overall function. 1947, NATO was created to stop Soviet Union expansionism. They're now actually saying, no, we don't care about that. In my opinion, we go back to President Trump's stance, which is that if you don't pay your bills, you don't get the Article 5 services. We need to understand that NATO stands for Now America Takes Over, just like the UN stands for Useless Nations. We have to go back to protecting Americans, protecting our borders on both sides, and working for the American people as hard as what Schumer and McConnell, the two Democrats in the Senate, are working to try and fund these foreign aid packages.
I hate to say it, it's a repeat from the last segment, but money can't buy love. Anyway, Congressman Corey Mills and Congressman Scott Perry, you're both terrific to come on. Good luck, gentlemen.